Thank you very much, Leo. Thank you, Massimo. Really engaging presentation. Thank you, Fernando and Gavin. So yeah, it seems like there is a lot going on in terms of getting the technology to work and solve problems. Often in technology, in emerging technologies, we see new, exciting things, exciting solutions looking for problems. And I think this was the case of blockchain maybe a couple of years ago, but now we seem to be stepping to the helm of implementing, tools to improve the world. So if attendees, if you have questions, all right, Ben has a question. If you have questions, please use the Q&A dialog box in Zoom. Oh, there are quite a few questions. Lots of questions. Okay, but I would like to, thank you all, and I maybe start the conversation asking a general question for the speakers. I'm quite curious about, especially when Fernando said, competition is now between suppliers. So I just wonder how we envision, there's adaptation of the construction industry given the advent of blockchain and smart decentralized computational legal contracts. What do you think is going to happen? I guess my question is, what do you think are the next proof of concepts we need to come up with?
Thank you very much, Abel, for your question. When I mentioned the competition is not anymore between companies, it's between supply chains. The whole supply chain, since the last subcontractor you have in your tier 5 to yourself if you are a main contractor. The next steps, I mean, this is something has been discussed in the supply chain world since the 90s. To get the coordination of the whole supply chain to increase the power of the supply chain. There is only one way to do this, and it's collaboration between the different stakeholders, between suppliers and between clients. Is the only way to do this. This collaboration, I have to say, is quite difficult at the moment. I mean, because we have this mantra in the supply chains that information is power. When you share information with your suppliers, it's kind of you are losing some kind of power you have. Then overcome this barrier is quite difficult at the moment. So my advice for this, I think blockchain can boost the collaboration in the supply chain, because blockchain itself is a collaborative technology. It's a technology where in a network, as mentioned in my talk, you have to have many companies working together. But you have to start really, really, really small, I would say. I mean, why I would say you have to start really small? Because collaboration, trust, and data sharing are really linked between them. I mean, you are going to trust more your supplier if you know more about your supplier. That means if he or she share more data with you. I mean, that is with suppliers and it's in the personal life. I mean, you are going to have more trust with people as much as more you know from them. Then the problem for me, in my point of view, that is my personal point of view, is when you want to trigger a blockchain project, if you aim too big, you are going to have a problem because you are going to require a lot of trust from the participants. Then start really, really small. I came across like 6 months ago or 1 year ago with a project in Poland where they implement blockchain in a group of suppliers and stakeholders for tracking pallets, as simple as that, as a pallet. Something what we consider in a building site is under residual, that is only important when the supplier calls you and asks for the pallets that you have a deposit for, if you want the money back. Something as simple as that, it triggers the collaboration between different members of the industry to remove deposits, cash deposits from the system, and to leverage that money. You have to do, my advice is do something really, really simple. I mean, what is the next proof of concept? you can imagine many proof of concepts. I think the potential of blockchain can be from really synchronize a whole supply chain to even synchronize everything with the payment, with the smart contracts, no? Get this synchronization with a layer of smart contracts on the top and trigger the payments directly. But my advice is start small. Start really, really small. Start with a small group of people, collaborate and trust each other. Just don't need a lot of information, just a bit of information to trigger the trust between them and carry on. This is my personal advice.
Okay, super interesting. Massimo, any notes on that? No, Gavin, any magic bullet? People say that the blockchain silver bullet application or magic bullet application was the Ethereum blockchain. So you can run decentralized applications in the internet. But I think lots of things will come up. I think there are technologies that are kind of a hybrid. They behave like blockchain, but they have other features. Yeah. And this is quite interesting because it's a very dynamic, changing landscape. Maximo, I'll ask you, okay, before I ask you a question, Maximo, I will just go to the audience. So there's a question here from Ben saying, what type of project data within the supply chain do you believe are the most important to record in the blockchain?
I think it's for me.
Yeah, I think, Ben, I think I can answer that. I think we don't know. I mean, when we don't know and we have the opportunity to blockchain many things, it's better to blockchain. It's better to adopt a kind of a reductionist approach. So you blockchain as much as you can. You try to leverage that data, and whatever turns out to be very useful, you focus on that. It's better than missing the opportunity. We don't really have problem with a kind of a very expensive digital memory nowadays. You know, like we can kind of record a lot of data with no worries. There is another a question here, which has actually 5 questions from Saga Haut. So I'm going to pick the first one. I don't think I'll ask the 5 questions because we're running a little bit late. But so how construction cost overruns can be controlled using blockchain? In many different ways. I mean, there are so many things you can do. And I think it's partially what Fernando just said. It's about coordinating the team. It's about bringing everyone to the same page and also having that trust mechanism. I think, Gavin, maybe do you have anything to add to that?
I'm not sure that you can control construction cost overruns with blockchain, and I don't see why you would. Blockchain is just recording those exchanges, whatever data you want. And as the same with the first question, there's 2 slightly glib answers. One is whatever the contract requires you to record, or 2, everything. I'm more in the everything camp. But that's the thing, you're only recording things. You're not controlling projects. You're managing a project. It's not the same thing. What you could do, and we've spoken about this, Abel, is when it comes to the initial project setup, costing a project. You know, if you have sufficient data from other projects, you can analogize to what your project should cost, and you could apply more rigorous management to that project. So it could help you manage costs better, but I don't think you can control it. Ultimately, it's still a people business, as law is a people business, and that's...
Yes, yeah. So yes, absolutely. There are some other questions here. You know, how Lowtech and smart contracts are related. Lowtech contains, so smart contracts is a subset of Lowtech, and of course it's an application of blockchain. If the smart contract is a distributed application in the blockchain, because you can have smart contracts that are not in the blockchain. So, and a Lowtech does not need to use blockchain for everything it does. And how current project monitoring software can be configured to blockchain. So the software developer needs to incorporate blockchain in their processes, and many are doing that. But there is a catch there, I think, Saga, just to kind of elaborate on your question. When you use a data generated by a particular software, and that data is locked in that particular software, or is mainly shared in that particular software platform, you create a silo. Yeah, and this is a problem that we have in the construction industry. Same with BIM. If everybody is using Revit and there was no industry foundation classes file format to share that BIM information, it's just another software generating data that it's not easily shared with the team. So with blockchain, I think we need to do the same. We need to make sure that you can blockchain your data in any software platform, but in a way that everybody can access that data if they have, or if they should be accessing it for running their processes. There's another question from Ben. How to deal with the deletion of project data stored in the blockchain after the end of the project lifecycle? You don't.
It's immutable.
It's there. So if you don't want it to be there, don't put it in the blockchain. Or yes, and yeah, I know that in the European Union you have in many countries in Europe you have the right to be forgotten. Not in the blockchain. If you want to be forgotten, don't go to the blockchain. Go somewhere else. Yeah, so I think the right answer is don't lose your keys. You know, if you put something in the blockchain and you have the key to access it, don't go around distributing your private keys to everyone, because the data is there and people will access it. There was a very funny case. I know this is a joke, but it's a very funny case of some Bitcoin enthusiasts saying, "Oh, you know, I bought lots of Bitcoins and it's amazing. It works really well. Here is a QR of my private key," and he showed it in live TV, and of course, somebody went to his wallet and took, I don't know, $500,000 out of his wallet just like that. So don't do that. It's not good, not smart. A question for Massimo. I'm very interested in the network you offer, and IEEE has a tremendous outreach. And I just wonder if there is, it's a very direct question, if there is like an IEEE working group on construction, in the construction sector.
Not good question. Let's say that within the European Public Policy Committee, there is no currently working group in the construction sector, even though within the energy working group there are a number of members who are working on smart buildings, in especially, let's say, further to the development of the European Union of the smart readiness indicators for buildings. And IEEE, of course, contributed to the debate and the discussion and the establishment of this. Now, I mean, IEEE is quite big. As I said, almost 500,000 members. So perhaps there are a number of societies, affinity groups, or other, let's say, entities within IEEE that deals with construction industry and some aspects pertaining to this, but I am not really aware.
Okay, yeah, so maybe there's a discussion to be had there. And if the CBC can contribute as a catalyst, as a platform to make it happen, we would be very happy to put the hours in, put the work in to make it happen.
Okay.
A few more questions. If you, the panel, if you have the Q&A dialog box open, you can claim some questions if you like. You can pick some questions you find interesting. Centralized, the last question is from someone called Puva. They are asking, centralized and blockchain decentralized, does this combination, BIM is centralized and blockchain is decentralized, does this combination hold future? It does indeed, it does indeed. So I don't know if the panel wants to elaborate on this, but I've been developing something myself, collaborating with Autodesk and Bentley Systems on the application of blockchain in BIM common data environments. Okay, so I'll briefly answer that. So in BIM nowadays, you have the common data environment, which is a server somewhere that holds not necessarily the digital twin, but the federated BIM model. And this is a centralized process. It's the right way to do it because it's faster. A centralized database is always faster than a distributed database because of speed of light. But there are hundreds of processes, if not thousands of processes running parallel in a federated BIM. For some of those processes, although the BIM is federated and you have many teams with many people in each team accessing that federated model, because of the filtering processes that we have in BIM. So in BIM, you need to set up work sets, and some people have access to some BIM objects. Some other people don't have access to BIM objects. Some people can see parts of the BIM, and some other people cannot see other parts of the BIM, etc. There's a filtering of activity. This can be quite convoluted, and some data also can be repeated because someone cannot see something and they will just repeat that task. This becomes redundant work, and it becomes incredibly inefficient. So when you use blockchain to coordinate the information, you could guarantee that everybody is on the same page. So you create information symmetry in the project. Although BIM is evolving very quickly, one of the applications of blockchain in BIM is to create that data symmetry that sometimes the common data environment is not configured to obtain. So there are some challenges there, and this is one of the things. I'm very happy to discuss further and show the proof of concept I've been developing. So do you have any, for the panel, any final comments, notes or suggestions before we break away for lunch?
Just following one of the questions in the Q&A, there is a question about does blockchain will replace current job roles like a project manager, contract managers, or planners? No, not at all. I mean, blockchain is a simple database. It's no more than that. Yeah. I mean, you are going to remove some activities from the system, but these activities are redundant activities in terms of double checking and approving things. But no project managers, planners, or contract managers. Yeah. I mean, we need the humans. Luckily, we need humans.
Yes. I think the job of replacing humans in accountancy and other jobs is a job for artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So blockchain is your friend. With artificial intelligence, you need to watch out a little bit. It will hopefully will make the world more efficient, but lots of people have to find other things to do.
I'd just say I agree with that. I don't think blockchain isn't going to subvert and make redundant those sorts of people, but it will free them up from the administration of their roles and allow them to be better project managers. Because I from my perspective, as a lawyer, I see their time subverted by not irrelevant processes, but redundant processes that really are administrative tasks. And what you want them to be, project managers and so on, is on-site managing projects and keeping the contractor in line, managing client expectations, all those sorts of things that project managers classically do, but need time to devote to and not administering processes, mechanisms. That's not what they're there for.